Hello fellow criminals, Compton Legacy here, bringing you a guide to how to do the Ghosting It challenge for the 99 boxes mission on Payday 3. So going through the skills real quick, I don't have too many skill points, only 10, and I put them mostly in stealth abilities, of course, because we're trying to do this without killing any guards. We don't need to get detected. So really any skill that can give you anything towards stealth. Rush is really good to have here because you're going to want that movement speed to move around, get in and out of doors quickly, get behind cover, because you are going to get seen on this mission. There's just no way to avoid that. You're going to want to try to synergize the skill points that you spend. For example, when you get rush while you're detected by a guard or a civilian sees you, that's always helpful. For example, right there. See, while you have rush, you can have a 50% chance to just immediately complete the lockpick. That comes in handy tremendously on any stealth mission. As you can see, the first thing I'm going to do is get the QR code from the right guard. We need to get the 2 QR codes to be able to open the crates toward the end of the mission. It's better to do this now instead of later, because things will get hectic once you put your mask on.
Go away!
You're going to want to go about this mission thinking of it as 2 phases. The first phase we need to do entirely unmasked. That means getting the 2 QR codes, grab the zipline bag, we're getting the nitrogen tank, we're opening the doors, we're hacking the computer, all before we put our mask on. The reason we're doing it this way is one of our skill points that we have spent makes it to where civilians don't give a crap what we're doing. They just assume we work here. Guards, on the other hand, not so much. So if we can knock out half the eyes that's roaming the place, you need to. I do want to give a reminder that if you are discovered at least once in this first phase, they will just escort you off the property. So you get 1 free mistake that you can make. A lot of people use this to get one of the hacks because you can hack the phone the entire time that you're being escorted out. But I tried to save mine as much as possible for an emergency situation. Now please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but out of all the attempts I've tried this, which honestly it was about 6, the nitrogen tank and the 2 crates that we're opening, they was always in the same spot every single time. So I don't know if that's just their assigned spot on Overkill difficulty or if it's randomized. I always thought it was randomized, but now I'm not so sure. Now if you've noticed during this whole warehouse situation, I've kept the bag with me as much as possible that has the zipline in it. Just trying to eliminate unnecessary things I have to do after we get the computer hacked. So if you can keep it with you the whole time, that's great. The only time I put it down was when I was trying to get the nitrogen tank. So once this guard goes away, then we can get into the computer room, which has always been this one for me, and we can get a move on to the next section. Now I just want to give a heads up to anyone that may not know, but Overkill difficulty always has 1 guard that is considered the lead guard. What the lead guard means is they have a radio that if you take them out, it goes off, I want to say every 2 minutes, which is going to take away the amount of radios you're allowed to answer before the alarm goes off. So on this mission, I've noticed he basically follows you around. Once you're in the warehouse, he goes in the warehouse. When you're outside, he's roaming outside. Now, I do believe he does not follow you at all into the next warehouse crate section. And if you haven't noticed by now, I have been seen many times on this mission already. The best thing to do is stick close to the walls as much as you can, especially when I was inside the warehouse. There's paths that you can take the entire way around that's just up against the wall. Now once we get around this corner in front of this truck, that is when we're going to mask up. If you do start to get spotted throughout the mission, it's best to just not panic, get close to an object or a wall. If you can just break that line of sight even just a little bit. A lot of times I can still see the guard, but it says they can't see me. So just get your detection meter to go back down before you peek out again. When using the zip line, I try to wait until there's no guard directly under the line, because I've noticed that they still happen to see you go across. But it's never been long enough to where you get detected. I still don't like to risk it. One thing I would like to add, as I was riding the zip line, if you noticed, I hopped off at the end instead of just finishing it out. The reason I do this is if you finish it normally, it causes you to slide in. One thing I realized is that sliding happens to make the most amount of noise on the game, and it will cause a nearby guard to possibly hear you, and they will climb these crates until they find you. During this hacking phase where we're trying to basically get rid of the GPS system that's on these crates, we have to stand in these circles until they fill up before we can move on to the next one. Oftentimes it does not let you repeat one until you do a couple others first. I try to do the ones that's above ground level as much as possible to keep from being seen. If you fill it up partially and you have to get out because you're starting to be noticed, I believe that it does not drain. If it does, it's very slowly. So if you have to bail and then get back in it, that is not the end of the world. Now this section is what I believe is the hardest part of the mission, when you have to bring them back to the van. First thing I'll say is do not care about the grade condition that the object is in. If it goes all the way down, you do not lose the mission. So I just didn't worry about it. Let you lose all the value possible. You still get a pretty good ton of money for it. But it allows us to just keep cool about this and we can get in. The first few attempts on this, I tried to go through the warehouse straight to the van. And I realized that was not the best way to go about this. There's far less people outside of the warehouse. So if you can go out the entrance and come in through the semi-truck trailer, then you can have a clear way to turning in the object without having to worry about too many eyes. After turning in the first one, we're just going back the same way we came. There's going to be a couple civilians and guards, but just be as careful as you was throughout the first half of this and you'll do just fine. Once we go back across the zip line, we got to get the other crate open, which is going to be on the opposite side of the yard. This side does have more guards and more civilians. And I'm going to try to do my best to show you their usual routes, where they might be, but you will notice that I almost completely screwed this up, and I tried not to panic, but honestly I did, and I just hid, but it paid off. If I can find an example in the rest of this, whenever you're on top of a crate and there is another one diagonally from it, and only the corners are touching, you can walk across without having to jump or run or make any noise. It looks like you would fall when you walk across, but don't worry about it, it will keep you up. While I have a bit before I get to the next door, I'll go ahead and say that the gear that you bring in on this mission does not really matter for this. I'm still using the same starting main weapon and pistol and have just been leveling them up. During this hacking portion, I discovered a feature that I didn't know existed yet. So you'll see I'm trying to open a few crates and I had the wrong one in my head, so I wasn't able to open it. But right here, I opened this one, which really kind of bites me in the ass later. What I didn't know is that some paths that you open up, guards will then begin to take that path, even though they didn't before. I just assumed that guards were always on the same path the whole time, and that that was a safe zone, but you will see very soon why it is not. I was not able to complete this part of the mission as smoothly as all the others, so any advice that I have on here is basically try to stay out of sight. Take your time. Do not rush anything, or you will blow it right at the end and you've wasted all these minutes and you'll have to start all over. So right here is where things got really tricky.
No.
The guard comes through the crate. I never expected that. So now I'm still surrounded by guards. There's civilians outside as well. I just had to wait it out. There was nothing else to really do. When we get this circle, I got out of it, got back in. It still had my progress. I will say the ones that I attempt to hack are always on the outside and above ground level. I know I already said that part, but I didn't say that I try to keep on the outer edges of the warehouse yard. There is a lot of cameras on the corners and in the center that I just don't want to fool with, so it's much easier to avoid the civilians than avoid the cameras. As we hack this last one, we're going to start wrapping up the video. All that's left is to secure the bag, and we are going to escape. I believe on this side it is easier for me, because we're already on the same side as the van. When we got the other one, we had to jump over the fence and sneak past the guards. This time we're already on that side, so we just have the one guard and one camera to really worry about. There is a chance that there could be civilians by the semis again though, so you want to be wary of that. And right here you'll notice I almost completely blew it again, but civilians do not have very good peripheral vision, so I made it. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. This is the first guide video that I've ever made, so if you found this helpful at all, please like, subscribe, share, follow me on twitch.tv, Compton Legacy. Let me know in the comments if there's any more guides you would like to see, and I will do my best to create them. Until then though, try to stay out of custody and get your payday.